Hey loves, my name is Iphannie, and this is the Iphanniebgentle podcast. Today's episode is going to be a juicy one because we're going to be talking about toxic relationships and the impact they have on your self-esteem. In today's day and age, toxic relationships are a dime a dozen. Many of my friends and family are either in a toxic relationship or have been in some form of a toxic relationship. And boy, they are a mess, especially when they're going through it. What's even worse is when you see the impact it has on your self-esteem. Toxic relationships can literally tear your self-esteem to shreds, causing you to stay and deal with the bullshit because you don't see the value in yourself anymore. I've had my fair share of toxic relationships. I'm talking about arguing with bitches because this nigga done cheated on me, popping up at a girl's job, parking outside of his house to see if he was truly home, and if he was home, who's there with him, all the crazy bullshit you hear on Justin LaBoy's Instagram. I've done it all, which made me realize what love truly was and how to walk away from a toxic relationship. I know some people are probably like, how hard could it be to walk away from someone mistreating you? But to be transparent, when someone is in a toxic relationship, they may not even realize they're in a toxic relationship because they're so engulfed in the person that they're with that it's really hard to see. As an outsider looking in, it's easy to say, that person does not give a fuck about you. You need to leave them and know your self-worth. But when you're not in the situation, it's much easier said than done. The person mistreating you can make you feel like the most beautiful, ugliest, smartest, dumbest person in the world. They learn you so well that they know how to manipulate you into believing any and everything that comes out of their mouth. Believe it or not, your mom and grandma have also been in some pretty toxic ass relationships. You ever have a cousin pop up out of nowhere, but you don't really pay it no mind because you're young and you just want someone new to play with? But when you get older, you start to ask questions and you realize that that's not your cousin at all. It's actually your aunt from your granddaddy and not your grandma. Yeah, grandma done had to deal with a whole bunch of bullshit. Most people are amazed at their grandparents' ability to remain married for 50 plus years. Most people believe that relationships just aren't what they used to be. People in our day and age blame it on social media. They say things like, I want my grandparents' type of love because they know how to love each other and they don't let the bullshit tear them apart. But they're unaware that grandma and grandpa have not slept in the same room in the last 5 years because grandpa was out there creeping and grandpa done got enough of the old geezer doing all his bullshit. And grandpa had to put in a lot of work. He literally had to work his ass off to get grandma to trust him again. That's why a lot of grandpas don't have booties, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know. We don't get to see the struggle our grandparents go through because they don't let everyone in their business. They handle it behind closed doors. So when I say everyone has been in a toxic relationship, everyone has been in a toxic relationship. Now, of course, there are always a few exceptions to the rule. There are some people who aren't aware that they're in toxic relationships because they're just in it too deep. I know that sounds crazy because who wouldn't know if they were in a toxic relationship? But there are people who have not been properly loved. Therefore, they don't know what real love looks like. They believe words instead of actions. Then there are those people who are in toxic relationships and they always feel the need to give their friends relationship advice as if their relationship is perfect when it really isn't. I have learned over the years to stop taking advice from friends and family because sometimes their advice does more harm than good. Toxic relationships aren't just romantic relationships. Toxic relationships can also be family and friendship ties as well. Some of y'all friends and family are toxic as hell. They don't want to see you win, especially because they always tend to lose. I've had to let go of a few friends because they breathe toxicity. And as soon as I ended that relationship, I noticed my life started to turn around for the better. The The same thing happened when I ended my toxic romantic relationship. Here are some things I did that first helped me realize that I was in a toxic relationship and then helped me walk away from it before I completely lost myself. During this time, I was really in a shitty place. I was going through it. I didn't realize I was going through so much bullshit because of the relationship I was in. I was literally destroying myself just to be with someone. I had to realize that if this person was causing so much pain and destruction in my life, I should probably let it go because love isn't supposed to hurt. I had to remove myself from the situation and think, would I be okay if my daughter went through something like this? Is this something that I would be willing to subject my child to? If this person truly loved me, would I be crying every night? Is love supposed to hurt? I know these questions sound pretty basic and honestly a little redundant, but once you're in a situation where you feel like you're just not being loved or understood properly, these questions can help you wake up and realize that what you're going through is not okay. These are questions that made me realize that I shouldn't be going through what I was going through. They made me realize that I needed to walk away before it was too late. So if you've been listening to my podcast for a while now, you know that I tend to always give some sort of do's and don'ts list to help simplify things for you. So here are a few do's and don'ts for a toxic relationship. These do's and don'ts don't only apply to romantic relationships, but they also apply to platonic relationships. So here they go. Do be clear about your intentions with one another from the beginning. If you want to be exclusive with someone, let your partner know and also explain what that looks like so that they can understand what you expect to give and what you expect to get. Don't allow someone to hide who you are or what you mean to them. If he or she would rather spend time with you secluded from others, meaning if he or she only wants to see you at your house or at their house, he or she may be hiding you from the world or hiding the world from you, or whatever Drake said, which is a huge red flag, also known as a little bit of a toxic relationship. Do be clear about finances and what you expect from one another when it comes to spending money. Don't spoil someone if it's not being reciprocated. If he or she only wants to spend time with you when you spend money on them, that is a toxic ass relationship. They're using you, and the moment you stop spending money on them, they will stop fucking with you. They can also make you feel like shit because they may have spent this much money on you, but because you're not spending the same amount, if not more, on them, they will try to reverse it and make you feel guilty. In the same token, if someone wants to spend money on you, you shouldn't be obligated to spoil them back within the same price range or spending more, because that means that they're not spoiling you because they wanted to spoil you. They're spoiling you because, well, they're only doing it because they want you to feel obligated to outdo them. It's pretty much reverse psychology, people. Do speak open and honestly about your feelings with your partner. When someone loves you, they will do just about anything to understand how you feel and fix any situation where you felt you were wronged. Don't deal with someone who does not prioritize your feelings, whether that be good or bad, because that's pretty freaking toxic. Be with someone who makes you feel like a priority and who actually makes you a priority. People make time for what and who they want to make time for. Don't deal with someone who only acknowledges you when no one else pays attention to them, as if you're just the last resort, because that's definitely toxic. Do create and enforce boundaries with one another. Don't just pop up on them because they're not answering the phone. That's hella toxic, and you might just get your feelings hurt. Trust me, I done been there, I done that. It's not a good feeling. Do know when to call it quits. That does not make you a quitter because you ended things with someone who just was not good for you. It makes you stronger than you know. Don't deal with anyone who who makes you second guess your intuition, ladies. If trust has been broken between you and your partner and they say things like, believe what you want, or you'll get over it, that's not only toxic, but it's disrespectful as fuck, because they're pretty much telling you to your face that they don't give a fuck about you and you won't do anything about it because you won't leave them. They're calling you a weak bitch. Don't prove them right. Do know your worth and never forget it. If that means repeating, I am worthy every day until you begin to believe it, do it, sis. Don't ever, I repeat, don't ever beg someone to love you. If you have to beg and plead with your partner to love and respect you and they refuse to listen, it's because they know that you won't leave regardless of what they do, hence the disrespect. I have either seen or done one, if not all of these, in my toxic ass relationship. Looking back, I truly can't believe that I dealt with the bullshit that I dealt with for as long as I did. I had to learn how to love myself enough to walk away from that grimy ass nigga. I had to teach myself how to understand myself and understand my worth. And once I did, I walked away and never looked back. Too many times, women and even men deal with bullshit from their spouse because they believe that no one else will ever want to deal with them. They believe these toxic ass people are the only ones for them, and trust me, nobody will want to deal with you. But someone is going to love you and cherish you, but it starts with you loving and understand what love looks like and feels like to you. Understanding how you accept love and how you give love in return. Walking away from a toxic relationship isn't easy, but it is doable. Just because you guys have been together for years does not mean that you guys should have been together for years. Time does not equate to productivity, to happiness, and to health. Time can sometimes be our biggest hindrance. I say all this to say, learn how to love yourself before you end up in a situation that causes you to lose yourself. That's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, my name is Iphannie, and this is the Iphanniebgentle podcast. Besitos.